There was a big bang of innovation in film, music, dance, gaming, and technology surrounding the present ecosystem of pop culture. My conclusion on this big bang was the year 2007. Now, before I get into what made 2007 so special, I have to point out that every generation has this type of innovation. For Gen Xers, it was movies like Star Wars, Jaws, or Alien that pushed the boundaries of the next wave in film because of their crazy approach in making imagination a reality on the big screen. For millennials like myself, it was the constant experimental shift in music that brought a new way of consumption within music videos that you could find on MTV, as well as making people more involved through live music events. So why am I talking about this? Well, I really wanted to look back at the past 20 years to see where everything changed. More and more people are making content for TikTok, Meta, YouTube, or live streaming on platforms like Twitch, and we have become spoiled in getting instant access to shows like House of the Dragon. At the time of making this video and putting it out, 2007 is not exactly 20 years ago, and I do hope in 2027 this video catches some eyes, but the amount of impact 2007 had on everything we consume today is just wild. One of the biggest marks of 2007 and what made it so consumable was film. Just taking a look at some of the movie lists out there, it was insane at the leap we had on the big screen. I remember going to the movies with my parents around this time, and it was so overwhelming with the selection. I could catch that weird emo vibe that Spider-Man 3 was creating webs on, or trying to stop a world of vampires under hit classics now like I Am Legend. We definitely can't forget about that Batman vs Superman Easter egg in that movie, by the way. But the one movie that would hit it out of the park and that I would become addicted to creating a collection, as well as motivating everything I produce now, would be Transformers. This was somewhat the key memory into making this video, but it also brought movies into the next decade with its CGI innovation as well as sound engineering. Fun fact, a relative that I'm not close to but is kin to my mom worked jointly under the Transformers franchise. I highly suggest checking him out and reading up on his history, but there are so many other hits like Disturbia that have become one of my favorites, which showcase how technology of the time could stop a killer in their tracks. Or what about the crazy visuals Pirates of the Caribbean would put out, ultimately being reference of what film could be. Now, I could talk all day about 2007 films because they are just one of my beloved things to watch, but we need to move on to the next wave that has been mentioned, that being technology. While I was thinking about how 2007 reshaped today's landscape, it got me really looking into what I experienced with tech at that time, almost like nostalgia. Now, I am going to be combining some of my other points like gaming and music that will appear later in this video because it was a part of the 2007 experience, especially with technology. Internet connectivity was at the edge of becoming more accessible at the end of 2006. Well, hold on, let me rephrase that. I meant to say here in the US because other countries had better infrastructure for the future, almost like we were putting money into other ventures with very little gain. But at the start of 2007, we would have an outburst of users online because of how affordable computers and webcams had become and how easy it was to catch a virus from platforms like LimeWire because you wanted to download that hit Baby Bash track, Cyclone. This would push the world into content creation as YouTube, MySpace, and live streaming platforms like Stick'em would become more accessible. Around this time, I was consuming videos like Red vs. Blue or Halo glitch tutorials because I was such a Halo nerd, but it was not all sunshine and rainbows for internet connectivity in 2007. Most speeds were terrible, Wi-Fi was still fresh, so it sucked major eggplants. Still, it pushed the world even further into the release of the iPhone, which wasn't the first for smartphone capability. And hell, most cell phones of the time could get on the internet if you paid a fee on your bill, but the iPhone was definitely showcased at the right time. This would eventually lead to the self-produced music boom that would be massive on MySpace, which gave way to more creativity within music. 2007 was groundbreaking in the diversity of music, with platforms like MySpace that gave users a more unique way to listen to other people's favorite artists by having tracks as an expression of identity on their profiles. It would create the genres we hear today. Emo culture was definitely all over magazines and the radio before 2007, but the scene exploded because of this type of personalization, which would go on to be featured in movies of the time. This would carry into content creation on YouTube, as you could find tutorial videos of COD, Gears of War, and Halo, all having a more nu metal and rock artists like Breaking Benjamin, Cold Chamber, or Korn in the background to make it seem more badass. This type of music discovery would lead to lyrical and dance videos being showcased on YouTube, making artists like Chris Brown and Justin Bieber a mainstream success. Speaking of Chris Brown, there was a time before all of his controversy and abuse that he was compared to Michael Jackson, so much so that during the 2007 MTV Music Awards, he would flex his dance moves. And let me just say that watching this on TV in 2007 was mind-blowing. But Chris Brown wasn't the only one to make dance more innovative, as artists like Sierra would feature Step Up in her music video Get Up, which was one of my faves to bump during this time. The really cool piece of tech that I had mentioned in my video about the Xbox 360 was that you could buy music videos and shows with Microsoft Points on the console, which introduced me to tracks like Sexy Movimiento. Music accessibility and the freedom to get information on the latest tracks became easy. This would cause a boom in music, giving everyone a chance to not only make something through content creation, but to also explore the world through different genres and cultures. The last and most important thing that I want to touch on before I end this video was gaming. Through leaps in internet connectivity, we not only got to talk trash with people from around the world, we got to have a new experience that had been introduced in some form. But it wasn't until 2007 where we really got to grow as a community from all areas of the world. This connectivity pushed gaming into the next phase of better graphics, more unique features, and better ways to learn the lore behind whatever game you were interested in. The two biggest titles to come out of 2007 was Halo 3 and Call of Duty 4, which rightfully so because they gave way to future developments. Halo 3, after all this time, is still a great looking game, and COD definitely pushed online into what we have today. Gaming itself was becoming more accessible because of the rise of YouTube and how impressionable Let's Play footage was becoming. It wasn't something new, but 2007 saw the rise of trickshot compilations, glitches, esport W's and L's, all with badass background tracks. And even though lag was a major problem, we still had so much fun with people from around the world. Hell, you didn't even have to be online or have internet to have this type of fun, because most games were built with a two-player experience in mind. 2007 was not just another year, it was the future. But with that being said, this will be the end of my video. I missed a lot talking about 2007, especially with fashion or how consumerism was changing to what we have now. But what do you remember about 2007? Was it something special like it was for me because of how fast everything was changing, especially with like technology, computers, internet, or was it something less than special and just another year?